I am at 18.4. You have to do a conversion in your head.
Times 2 plus 24 or 22 or 36.
No, it's 9 over 5. So times 9 divided by 5 plus 32.
That's stupid. Let's do it would be faster.
Hello, my friends.
Welcome to the PEBCAK Podcast. Stealing.
One of these weeks, I'm going to have one of you guys facilitate this.
You should.
76 episodes. I've done it.
We just need you to call out sick one day. We'll take over for you.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 36 of 2022. Happy Labor Day to our US-based listeners, where we give the working people the day off to celebrate the working people. I'm Chris Louie, and broadcasting straight out of Prague in Czechia. Who knew I would be the first person on the podcast to broadcast from Europe? With me, I have my co-host Duke Silver, who made it home safely from Chicago.
Yeehaw! Now I'm over here in sunny Fort Collins. I'm over here in sunny Fort Collins, Colorado. This whole time I thought Prague was in somewhere in Russia. So a little calendar lesson there for me. Good job.
Calendar lesson? That's like geographic lesson, buddy.
That is, you're right.
Geography.
I'm looking at my calendar right now. Busted.
Yeah, so there was Czechoslovakia, which the local people here don't really like because it does bring back memories of the Soviet rule. And then there was Czech Republic, and I'm not exactly sure when they changed over to Czechia, which is what they're known for now.
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't even know that, Chris.
Yeah, it was yesterday for sure.
Yeah.
Right when you landed, right?
Yep, exactly.
Just to confuse you.
And we also have Glenn Medina, who made it back safely from New Jersey.
Hey everyone, happy to be home for a bit. Still COVID-free after traveling across the U.S. Cross your fingers there. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Happy to be here again.
Good to have you back.
No guess.
Thanks.
Welcome.
So we actually collectively traveled from two of the more dangerous cities, areas in the U.S. and made it back safely. So that's always a good thing. But no guests this week due to my travel schedule, but we've been meeting with a lot of people who actually want to be on as guests of the podcast. So we hope to have more on the podcast soon. Combined.
So what time is it there for you? Hold on. What time is it there for you right
Plus
now?
9 divided by 5.
Sorry. 9 divided by 5. Divided by 2, right? Is that what it is? Or plus 25?
Oh, no.
So I'm recording at 11 o'clock at night over here.
Oh, damn.
11
that's
p.m.
not so bad.
Yeah. Combined, we have decades of information security experience here, not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for you this week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So we were actually talking on the pre-show about the local breweries here they have in Czechia. So I thought that might be a good topic to open the podcast with. I've had some pretty good local beers here in Czechia. I guess we're close enough to Germany that there are some good local breweries here. I've tasted a couple of the local beers here and been pleasantly surprised. They actually have pretty good beer here.
You know what they say? Schlaghaden. Grab him by the pony.
What? They don't say that. That's
they don't
not
say
true.
that? That's only over here. Did you drink? Did you drink the boot? So. Is the real question.
No, so the boot I think is a German thing. I did not have the boot while we were here. They have normal. So actually, something I learned here in Europe. So a pint. So there's a pint. In America. There's a pint in the UK. But since we're not part of America or the UK, they drink liters here. So the beers here are served in liters and half liters.
Ooh, did you ask for
But it's not the same liter, though. It's not the same type of liter that you would, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's not like the same liter that's from the British liter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I actually got a crash course in beer here. And they said, like, the UK liter is 500 milliliters, like the half liter in the UK is like 500 milliliters. and the half liter in the rest of the EU is like 505 milliliters. So it's about like 1% off, but close enough.
Did you ask for a liter cola?
No, Farva. I did not ask for a liter of cola.
Look at the Super Troopers reference. He's getting it, guys. He's getting it. And tell everyone how much you've had to drink so far today. But it is 11 o'clock his time. Me and Glenn are still rookies over here at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
No kidding.
We had a few of the local beers here, and then had a Cuba Libre after that. So I did break the rule. I did drink beer before the hard liquor, so we'll see if I'll be paying for that later on or not.
Well, are you done?
My understanding, though, is Budweiser's really originally from Czech, not from Germany, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong. Sorry about that.
What? That can't be true. Budweiser's as American as they come.
The recipe is the recipe is from
they rebranded themselves
from
as
Czech,
America.
I mean, every episode of Cops where there is a wife beater shirt on, there is an ice cold Bud Light in his hand. Just saying.
Yep, here it is. Budvar is a brewery in Czech city of Czech Budějovice, best known for its original Budvar Pale Lager.
Ooh, do they have horses?
There you go. Dang.
The Clydesdales. The more you learn.
The more you learn.
Yeah. And when I spent time in Europe, and this is Germany, the beer was served warm. It's not ice cold like you're used to here in the States.
Gee. Is that true, Chris?
And the only time, I don't know. Yeah, Chris, is that true?
So when we had the beer tonight, they actually had the beers in the cups or the mugs, the half-liter mugs. They stored them in ice water, so the beer mugs were actually ice cold here, and the beer that came out was pretty cold. So it was not warm or room temp here when we got it today.
Ooh.
Wait, hold on. You are the biggest. What do you call that? The
super spreader.
What's the germaphobe that you are that I know of, and storing something in ice that people's hands go in and out of is something that you would drink from? Really, Chris?
Yeah, they say that alcohol kills everything, so why not?
Beer, yeast. Not the same.
Chris, I think you should go take an ice bath. Do it. All the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah, I'd have to take multiple trips to the ice machine to be able to do that.
No, I'm just saying go back to the restaurant and jump in. You're not,
I don't think it's big enough for me to jump into.
You're not catching what I'm pitching here, man. Jesus.
They did have that.
No one catches what you're pitching there, Brian.
All right. For our opening topic, there is an article in the Wall Street Journal about using your phone as a hotel key. And the title of the article is Hotel Key on Your iPhone is Great Until It Isn't. And I actually experienced this myself. So the last 2 trips I took, so we all went to Black Hat, and I used my phone as my key in both of the hotels that I stayed in there. And then last week when we were broadcasting from Chicago, I also used my phone as the key. And personally, I had no issues whatsoever. It was actually a lot faster because when I went to the check-in line for the hotel, it was really, really long in all of the hotels that I've been in. And checking in through the app, it says, use your phone as a key, check in through your phone, and no issues whatsoever. I registered, I used my phone as a key the entire time. It opened when I said open sesame. I had no issues with it whatsoever, and it was a very positive experience. I didn't have to see anybody. Checkout was a breeze. I checked out through the app and didn't have to see anybody, and I just left my room. Didn't have to go to the front desk. But I guess some people have had problems with that. So if you get to your room, your phone as your key doesn't work, then you have to go down to the front desk, get a hard plastic key, and some people think that's a hassle. But at least for me, no issues whatsoever.
Oh, wait, hold on. You did have an issue. Not maybe in where you are right now, but you did have an issue in Vegas. So come clean there.
I don't remember
Chris,
having an issue with that. And what issue did I have in Vegas?
You couldn't get in the elevator to your floor.
Oh, that I
User
I think that was actually 100% my fault. No, I was in the right elevator, but I was taking typical Black Hat and DEF CON precautions, and I disabled the Bluetooth on my phone. So I think that was the reason it wasn't working.
Ew.
So what did you end up doing because you didn't realize you had done that?
So someone actually in the elevator was luckily going to the same floor, and they let me piggyback, basically.
Okay. So you never ended up getting a key after that?
No. No, and all my time in Vegas, all my time in Chicago, the hotel that I'm at currently in Cheshire, they don't support the phone key, so I actually do have a hard plastic key. But for the phone key, no issues whatsoever. I think it's actually really nice. Didn't have to interact with anybody, and yeah, it was a good experience overall.
Gotcha. You've redeemed yourself, Chris.
Yep. Have you guys ever tried that? Hilton does it. There's a number of other hotel apps that do it.
I did.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've tried it once. I didn't really care for it, so that was it. Short-lived.
Yeah, to me, it's something instinctive as like having a key in my pocket. And I actually asked for two because it never fails that when I use one, that doesn't work. So I have to end up using the second one. I just hate having to take multiple trips. And then, I do it as more of a safety thing for me, or just not a safety. It's more of a convenience. I always have one in my pocket when I check in, and I take the other one and I throw it in my wallet. So just in case I lose the key, I still have the spare, and I don't have to go by the front desk.
Glenn is a man of many
I have a
talents.
system. Yeah, I have a system.
I always ask for a
I'm
physical
kooky.
key, not like a plastic card. I just want like a metal key that I can just have
The metal
on my
key.
on my keychain.
And they got to cut it for you at the time.
Yeah, they look at me like,
Could you imagine asking her, like, I want a key, and they're like, oh, yeah, we gave you a key, and I'm like, that's plastic, and I'm like, no, I want the metal key.
Yeah, what I
I'll
see
try it
sometimes
tonight.
as an OPSEC fail for some of the colleagues that I travel with is they'll carry their physical plastic key in the envelope that has the room number on it. And I just tell them, like, if they know the room number and they have the key, they can break into your room, right?
so
Yeah, that's poor OPSEC. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I do it anyways. I don't care. Come break into my room. Speaking of which, like, are you guys weirdos like me? Do you guys like travel with like a little like mini router and a camera? That way, when you put up the "Do Not Disturb" sign, you can see if anyone's walking in your room. No.
I don't do that. I can see why you'd want to do that. In certain regions of the world, I can definitely see that. There's the so-called evil maid attack that tries to access your laptop when you're out. And I've known colleagues, they do the hair test. They put a piece of hair. They shut their laptop lid. They put a piece of hair somewhere on the laptop. And when they come back, the hair is gone, which means someone opened their laptop while they were gone. So that definitely is a potential fear, but I don't worry about it that much that I actually do that.
So pre-COVID, I was batting like 1,000%. Literally every time I have up the "Do Not Disturb" sign, there was a maid in my hotel room, and we catch them with the camera. And I always brought my little Wise camera that does the pan, tilt, and zoom. So as they're walking in, it's all following them. When they realize it, they're like, ugh! And they just make a beeline. And then I would always go and complain. They're just like, oh, they must have thought that you said come on in or something. It's like, no, I have a sign up. Like, I don't understand what you guys are doing here.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty universally recognized, because even when if I ask for service and like, yeah, we'll send someone up to service room as long as your "Do Not Disturb" is not up.
So there you guys have it.
Yeah, I've never had that problem. Yeah,
You don't think you have. I would do the hair trick with the laptop. I don't have any hair, so.
Well, you have hair. It's
Yeah, you have beard here.
not of significant length.
Yeah. The beard hair, like this thing is like, I think at the longest right now, it's probably about 2 inches. That should work, right? 2 inches is a lot, right?
That'll work. I mean,
Yeah.
Right, guys? 2 inches
my
is a lot.
hair
It's
on top
a
of
little
my head
thicker
is-
than hair, though.
It is.
I got
All
your
right.
2 inches right here, buddy.
And on that note, for our first topic, a report has come out that a security researcher actually made a pretty cool tool. It's called inappbrowser.com. And for anyone that's ever used in a mobile application like on the iPhone or the Android, and you open up like Instagram or TikTok or even like the Reddit app and you click on a link, it sends you to the local browser. So it doesn't sync into your default browser like DuckDuckGo or Safari. It opens up a browser within the app. And just for me personally, I have a habit of anytime that it does that, I always hit the button to escape to the local browser just because I don't want anyone tracking me in the app. And it turns out that, so this inappbrowser.com opens up the mobile apps browser inside a browser, and it actually does like something like a man-in-the-middle proxy, and it looks for anything that's added to the website that's not loaded natively to the website. And it turns out that the TikTok browser, so if you click a link inside of TikTok and you open up the browser and you use the native browser within the TikTok app, it's actually tracking every single one of your keystrokes, which is pretty scary. And depending whether or not you trust ByteDance, so ByteDance is a parent company of TikTok. When this report came out, ByteDance says, yeah, we collect keystrokes, but we only use it for troubleshooting purposes or performance purposes. We never actually store any keystrokes from the user. So I'll leave it up to our listeners to make the call of whether to believe them or not. But I mean, that's just been my longstanding policy. Even before I knew about this, I don't use any in-app browsers within the applications. I always switch to DuckDuckGo. And this just reinforces that, because these apps that you have installed on your phone are injecting JavaScript to do things like track where you go, track your keystrokes, and see what pages you're visiting. So these apps just don't need to know that, and it doesn't change my experience if I use the local app on my phone.
So I had another kind of like weird experience. And I think I even shared it with you guys. I had copied, I think like a screenshot, and then modified that turd a little bit, and copied it, and then deleted it real quick. Went to Instagram, and then I got a notification banner saying that Instagram dumped my clipboard. So had that been a password, they would have gotten it. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Was that when your phone started acting all kinds of funny too?
No. This is a couple weeks before.
Yeah. I don't use TikTok. I had it on my phone, and then after hearing all those other things, I just removed it because I didn't want any association with that or having it.
Plus, you can't dance, so why even have it?
Why bother? I have 2 left feet, so
what kind of?
I'm rhythmically challenged, unlike you, Brian. So
what kind of possibly what could have TikTok been trying to do to quote unquote troubleshoot by capturing your keystrokes?
I'm not
user
sure
experience.
What maybe like if they keep you keep trying to reload the same website, and then they say, oh, maybe something's wrong with this website. Maybe this website doesn't work well in our in-app browser. But I don't know what reason they would have to record the keystrokes of the users. They're adamant that they're not storing any of this data, but that's whether or not you trust ByteDance, which is a Chinese-owned company. And that's more trust than I'm willing to give at this point.
How do you type in a SQL injection in Mandarin just to be safe? I have an idea here, guys.
Yes, always start with an apostrophe. Try that.
Yeah. Drop all tables. Comment, love Brian Deitch.
But it's not just ByteDance. It's also Instagram and some of these other applications that open up a browser within the app. Even the Reddit app, if you download the official Reddit app and you click a link that's supposed to take you outside, or Twitter even. All these apps try to. My original thought was they try to keep you inside their own ecosystem. So when you close it goes back to the app, because they track metrics like daily active users, daily use time, and things like that. So I thought my motivation for them was targeted advertising, but it actually gets much worse than that. They're actually tracking you when you're using these in-app browsers.
I thought the whole time it was Safari. I didn't know it was their own special browser.
Well, remember you got on me, Chris, because I would copy the URLs out of those and be a question mark / or something like that.
Yeah,
the
tracking.
Delete everything. Delete the tracking portion of it. So, I didn't. Yeah, like I said, I didn't realize that. So,
that and you actually sent it to us that DuckDuckGo has a service, email forwarding service. So when marketers email you and it has a tracking link in it, DuckDuckGo will automatically strip that to the very basic link and then forward it to your email. So that's actually a pretty cool service. So
I love that service right now. Yeah.
For those of our listeners, I'll drop a link in the description. But yeah, DuckDuckGo does something to remove all the tracking details from links and emails.
Yeah, early adopter here. Like I said, I was trying to see if I could, try and figure it out. And the whole idea there is the concept of just some level of, the link tracking, right? So trying to figure out, it turns out it's actually not its own email service. It's just a forwarding service with some link removal, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, they don't actually store anything. They just remove the link and then forward it on to you, which is pretty clever.
But like anything, early adopter, you try and grab all the cool email addresses at Duck. So
Well,
yeah,
speaking of,
I got.
try and get. What did you get, Chris?
So I got I don't know if I want to give it away, but I got one that I wanted. When I originally signed up for Gmail, it was unavailable. So I had to add additional letters or numbers to it. But I actually got the user ID I wanted for at duck.com this time around because I learned about it early enough.
Yeah.
I'm dying to know what it is.
I tried a couple of letters. I tried a couple of initials like G at Duck, and it wouldn't let me do that. So I think there's a minimum character length this time.
Chris, put in the chat window. I'm curious. I'm not going to say it, but I'm curious what it was. Is it like a movie reference, TV show reference?
No, it's just something that I wanted.
That's boring.
Yeah.
Jesus.
If you guys remember when Microsoft's free email, so they first started with Hotmail, and the next one was Live, and then they had at outlook.com. And when they launched at outlook.com, there was absolutely no restrictions, no input validation whatsoever. So people were registering like customer service at outlook.com and some ridiculous things. I actually was able to register something pretty offensive because I just thought it'd be funny to own it. And I actually still have it to this day that I have an offensive username at outlook.com just because it was the Wild West. You could register literally anything you wanted.
Well, speaking of creepiness and tracking and stuff, did you guys catch the Joe Rogan podcast with Mark Zuckerberg by chance?
No, but I can imagine how that went.
Dude, like Zuckerberg, excuse me. He comes off like obviously he's a smart guy. He knows a lot of things. But the second you question him on something that might be a little edgy, he's like, I don't know, I haven't heard of that. Like it's so weird. But like his whole thing
Sounds like
it's basically the same
like
thing
his
he pulled on
response.
Capitol Hill. Then
a little bit, yeah.
Anytime he's in front
sounds
of
like
Congress.
a response to Congress.
You can go like 10 miles deep on something, and then you ask him about, hey, we heard that such and such groups are all, run by the Chinese mafia. He's like, oh, no, never heard of that. He's like, really? 99 out of 100 of them? He's like, no, that's never come up to me. But he knew every other thing that's coming up. And that wasn't a real use case. I didn't want to put anyone on blast.
So now I got to go watch that. I got to go listen to that. Now.
You can listen on 1.5 real easy and get through it pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of neat because Joe kind of grilled him on some stuff. He didn't let him off. Like what should have happened on Capitol Hill, Joe actually executed on it. But he still was able to tap dance pretty good around it.
That's good. I want to know what Mark Zuckerberg's end game. What was he trying to do on Joe Rogan's podcast? Was he trying to say that Facebook is not an evil company? It's not
pretty much, yeah,
up massive amounts of data. It's not negatively affecting people socially. Like that was he was trying to evangelize that.
Yeah, he was asking it, but I think 100%, right? We're just here to try to do good stuff and just, spread good information. And then Joe hit him with he's like, well, isn't it kind of weird that you can kind of control, or as he would like to call it, signal, the, what comes up on your feed for 3.5 billion people. He's like, well, if people don't like it, they'll just go somewhere else. I'm like, but you still have control over 3.5 billion people. That's insane.
Sort of just dodging the question.
Yeah. And then I also found out the angry emoji does nothing on a Facebook post. They take that into zero balance into what goes on, because at the end of the day, they want to not make things that are not fun or happy as popular.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same problem. Like the bombshell report about Twitter. That's not a story we're covering this week, but there's a bombshell report from their former CISO, Mudge, who's extremely well respected in the information security space. And he basically said that Twitter executives were so focused on user growth, because that's how they get their bonus. They're purely paid on bonus. One of the metrics was user growth, that they were not worried about bots or Chinese, propagandists taking over, creating these accounts on Twitter, because they're just so focused on user growth to hit their bonuses. For our second topic, there's a new attack that can exfiltrate data out of air-gapped systems, and I thought this one was pretty interesting. I'm always very interested in attacks that can exfiltrate data from air-gapped systems. So an air-gapped system is a system from which it's not connected to the internet. It's normally not connected to most networks, and they house very sensitive information. Like Lockheed Martin, after Lockheed Martin got hacked, the F-35 project data was stolen by what we believe to be the Chinese People Liberations Army, their hacking team. And they took that completely offline. So if you wanted to access any of the F-35 files, you had to physically be there. You couldn't access it over VPN or remotely. But somebody created an interesting attack to exfiltrate data using the LEDs on a network card. So they would take over the network card of a device, and since they're not internet connected, it'd have to be snuck in somewhere, like through a USB drive or through some other means. But it would use the network card's LEDs to turn on the LED on the network card to use Morse code. So the LED would blink using Morse code to exfiltrate the data. And not only that, but the attack would also have to have access to something like a CCTV camera that was pointed at that network card to receive the data. But just goes to show that just because the system is air-gapped, it doesn't mean that data cannot be exfiltrated from it.
I'm going to have to imagine that CCTV is probably high quality, given that it's air-gapped and what's going on over there. That's pretty wild, though. Creative. You know who would have picked up on it right away?
Yeah.
Dwight Schrute from The Office. He knows his Morse code.
He'd be watching the cameras and says, that network card's blinking in a predictable fashion.
I did not see that.
Yeah, I've seen other clever attacks like using the frequency, like using ultrasound on the hard drive. So they would move the hard drive motor also in some kind of Morse code, and they'd have to have a smartphone nearby to pick up the ultrasound. But you would think if you're in an air-gapped system that there'd be no cell phones allowed. But if there's some other type of device within the room, that you could potentially exfiltrate data from these air-gapped systems.
Can you imagine?
How much data can you extort using Morse code? I mean, that's that's serial, right? It's not. I mean, I guess you got to catch it blinking very fast. Are they recording it someplace else?
Got it.
And then taking that data and then decrypting it.
Likely they're recording it. Like even if it's a 32 character password, 32 characters in Morse code, doesn't take a whole lot.
Basically, what you're saying is they have a room full of 89-year-old veterans just crunching away Morse code. I would hope that at this point in time they have some sort of OCR, right? They can just pick it up and translate it on the fly.
Yeah. AI machine learning. They have something that could translate the Morse code from the lights into human readable content. Yeah, air-gapped systems not as secure as we thought. Yeah, when it just goes to show where there's a will, there's a way. And I think that this particular researcher specializes in getting data outside of air-gapped systems. So I think air-gap also means that you need to have other controls in place, that people can't access the cameras if they're not supposed to. People can't bring cell phones into the environment, just because there's just so many clever ways now for people to get that data out.
Sounds that
way. But
how?
I mean, so many things. So number one, you got to be able to even hack the computer somehow. And now you're writing, is it OS level? Probably not kernel level type of, on the NIC driver. I have no idea what you're doing to make that happen. And then once you got all that working, you're like, now we need you guys to plant a camera over here and go undetected. Or like you said, CCTV, but still, geez, man, that's wild. And then do you even know the layout of the data center? Some of those things got some narrow walkways.
Well, maybe the CCTV is on the same system as the network now, so it's easy just to monitor.
Right? Yeah, hopefully not. And typically, network cards are on the back side of a server, so you'd have to have a camera pointed to the back of the server.
with a door,
with clean cable
with a
management.
mesh door.
Think about it. Like, you guys have seen
Yeah.
some disasters over there. Oh, can you imagine? Like, all this happens, right? Bad. You infect a server, and it's number 32 at the bottom of the rack, and you can't even see that thing. It is just a dark wall of just cables draping down. You really needed to be installed in the top one where you had access to that light. I don't know. I'm not buying it. I don't think this worked.
Foiled by poor cable management.
Yeah.
That's actually a good security feature now.
Right now, somebody's
Yeah, that's what we'll start seeing. We'll start seeing people put tape over the LEDs on the network cards.
right.
Yeah, there's a command though. Isn't there a command that you could lights out on the NIC? I know for the home routers you can. I don't know about these industrial the data center routers or switches.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe
possibly.
wait. I'm thinking the other side. I'm thinking the actual switch, but you're talking about the actual server itself. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the network card on the server. Yeah, maybe there's a way to block out the lights, but it's not your first instinct that when I install these servers, I'm going to first turn off the LEDs on it.
Yeah.
How many people think, or right now they're
Ingenious, but man.
looking at the blinky light? Is that Morse code? Or is it just my
Yeah,
Zoom
try to
stream?
determine, have I been hacked?
Wow.
All right, for our third topic, this is a story, we didn't cover it in the past weeks after it came out, but I just thought it was too good of a story to not cover. And apparently there's these Bitcoin ATMs. I'm sure everybody has probably seen this in a mall. Sometimes you see them at like a 7-Eleven convenience store where you put money into the ATM and it'll send you some Bitcoin, or vice versa. You send the ATM some Bitcoin and it spits out some cash for you. Well, it turns out that there was a 0-day vulnerability in these ATMs where an attacker could go out there on Shodan, scan for these ATMs that were exposed to the internet, and use a specially crafted URL to basically put the ATM in first-time setup mode. And in first-time setup mode, you get to set the admin password. So these attackers were going out to these ATMs, setting the admin password, logging in as admin, and they basically put a script in that says anytime somebody sends some Bitcoins, or anytime anybody withdraws some Bitcoin, send it to this hacker's address. So these people were like putting money into the Bitcoin ATM, and the money ended up going to the attacker, and like, hey, where's my Bitcoin? How come I didn't get my Bitcoin? Or they try to deposit some Bitcoin and withdraw the money. And then when they deposited the Bitcoin, it went to the attacker's address, and same thing. Some people would be really confused. It says, hey, how come I never got my money? Well, the address that they were supposed to send it to never got it, because somebody went into this ATM and reprogrammed it to always send the money to the attacker's address. So the company that makes these Bitcoin ATMs, they've since released a patch, and they said anybody who runs these ATMs patch immediately. But when they went on Shodan, some security researchers went on Shodan to look up these Bitcoin ATMs exposed to the internet with zero authentication. They said there were still a number of these ATMs still out there that were vulnerable to this attack.
Can I get an auto update? Jesus. And you would think
Yeah.
you would think that they would have the bad guy, right? Like, rather than take the entire pot, like just siphon off a little bit of it, like Office Space.
Yeah, like salami slice,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Greed gets you every
So how
time.
much did they make out with? And how
I
long
don't
was
know
it going
exactly
on
how
for?
much they made that with. I think it was going on for a few weeks before people noticed that something was actually up, before they discovered this 0-day in the code.
It's a trick question. I was hoping you'd say, I don't know how much I made out with it. And I'd be, oh, we got him, guys.
It wasn't me.
The Shaggy
Well,
defense.
I mean, these. I guess there's a different infrastructure for these crypto ATMs, unlike the highly regulated bank ATMs, right? Or even ATMs that are sitting on the, you kind of third party ATMs that charge you $20 for a withdrawal of $20, right? So I just wonder, like, how is this regulated anywhere as far as who owns these things and the money that's being on it, and who's checking these guys to see how you can get your money back and just the fact that if I got money stolen out of my bank, I'd go back to the bank and go, listen, there's ATM, like I want my money back.
So I think you give the banks way too much credit when you said these ATMs are highly regulated. I remember there's a grocery store by my house that had an ATM inside it, and it was like one of those standalone ones. And I remember seeing on top of this ATM, there was literally a Cisco access point and switch sitting on top of the ATM with all the ports exposed. So like when you think of the damage you can do to an ATM that has exposed ports like that, there was also the attack that all the ATMs had the same key, that you just buy a replacement key for this ATM and you can open up any ATM that you wanted to. So when you say highly regulated, I think that's a stretch.
Okay, let me take that back. Was that like one of the top 5 banks that are out there ATM, or is this like one of these mom and pop gas station ATMs that anybody can buy off of a third party or whatever?
I think it was a major bank ATM. But
Oh, wow.
It was probably operated by some third party that, like, normally you're supposed to put the router or the switch inside the ATM and put it behind a lock and key. But for some reason, they just threw it on top, and it was just literally a Cisco router access point sitting on top of the ATM with exposed network ports.
Yeah.
So if you had the opportunity to kind of man the middle of that, would you guys go out to like Hack 5 and buy like a plunger plug or something like that just to see what you can get?
Well, it'd probably be illegal to do that without explicit permission, but you can just imagine the fun you could have if you were some type of attacker.
We're all talking hypothetically here, Chris, but we got to give people the real deal instructions on how to do this stuff.
So when I managed the group, I managed a group of network administrators. One of the jobs that they had was, the many ATMs that are out there for this previous company of mine, and they had an ASA 5505. Do you guys remember those little 5-port?
Yeah, I even have one at home. Yeah,
and set up a VPN tunnel, site-to-site VPN tunnel, communications back and whatnot. Ports are locked down and everything else. So I go back to that exposed switch, and I'm like, who's managing that? Is that that's not a managed switch? So I was just wondering if it was a switch or if it was actually one of those ASA 5505s that it was commonly used at that time, right? So
yeah, hopefully they have something turned on like port security so that only authorized MAC addresses can interact with it. But yeah, I think again we're giving them way too much credit that they actually thought about that instead of just throwing this switch on top of an ATM.
Yeah, I guess I got to do my homework now to see how big of a thing Bitcoin ATMs are, because I imagine it's probably the wave of the future, right? So maybe it's something we should invest in.
Search on Shodan, you'll see.
Yeah,
I've actually looked into it. It's not that lucrative, and there isn't a lot of them in Arizona.
Yeah, I know the fees they charge are exorbitant. Like sometimes the commission, like me as a consumer, if I want to buy or sell Bitcoin, I think the commission is like 10% or something. But I think a lot of that commission gets paid in franchise fees, and then whoever you put the ATM on, like if you put it in a mall or you put it in a 7-Eleven, then you have to give them a cut of everything too.
Yeah.
So who actually get hit with that?
Maybe I'll put one in front of my house.
The ATM owner, or was it the people that they must have lost out on a ton of money, right? If they're taking on top of every transaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this case, the ATM manufacturer, I personally feel they should be on the hook because this was a security vulnerability in their software through no fault of the owners of the ATM.
Yeah,
like if this still happens like a month after they release the patch, then I have no sympathy for people that don't patch, but up until the point that the vendor released a patch, I think the vendor should be on the hook for that.
I'll tell you what, if they acknowledged it and started, paying people back, then you know that they've been taking serious amounts of money every time a transaction happens. Those fees are going through the roof.
Right. All right, for our last topic, and it'll be a rotating topic every week. This week, I'm posing the question to my co-host. What would you refuse to buy even if you were a millionaire? Or I'll also replace it with exorbitantly wealthy. What would you still not buy?
You've already asked this question. How drunk are you?
I haven't asked this.
Going on?
Did I ask this?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't ask. We didn't do
Yeah, we
this.
did, because it was just like, oh, it was like, I'm not going to buy like the Apple Care or something like that. I forget.
All right, Brian. Well, why don't you come up with the fourth topic then?
I don't have anything to contribute. And then, like, got nothing for you.
You remember that? That was just one segment of. That's not something that we wouldn't buy. I guess that is something we would never buy. But no. That was something you would never buy, period, even if you had whatever. But this is as a millionaire.
Okay.
You've got oodles of money going out there. What would you not buy?
I'm invincible.
Like, a haircut? A haircut? What is it, Brian?
All right. I'll play games. Let's let Chris go first.
I'll put it now. I'll put an alternative question then.
All right.
No. Let's go with this. Don't let him.
Don't let me bully you, Christopher.
Don't let him bully you around. We stick with this one.
Speaking of bullies, you should see what freaking Glenn was up to on the No Save chat this week. Woo! It was hot.
All right. So my thought of what would you refuse to buy even if you were exorbitantly wealthy? The first thought that came to mind was designer baby clothes. And this came to mind because there's somebody in my circles that actually did this for their kid, and they actually posted on Instagram. So when they brought the baby home from the hospital, and this person posted online that says, my baby's only coming home in Armani or something, and then, like, the baby was wearing like an Armani hoodie. And I said, well, first of all, like, this baby's not going to remember anything. Number two, this baby's going to outgrow this thing in like a matter of weeks. And there's just no point in like buying exorbitantly expensive clothes for a baby or even a kid for that matter. They're just going to grow out of it and they're just not going to be able to appreciate it. So that's something I would refuse to buy even if I were exorbitantly wealthy.
You get some rich friends, man. I had a similar Facebook post, but it was just like, my baby's not coming home unless we have Cheese Whiz in the fridge. So there's that.
All right, Brian, you're next.
No, you're next.
No. You can't escape this one. This one's all
Something
you.
I wouldn't buy? I have no idea, man. I need more time. If only we had like show notes of prep to give me ample time to think of this.
Hey, this was in the show notes, just saying.
Obviously, I just didn't have a chance to read it because.
Yeah. So I'll go,
There.
right? I'm with you, Chris. There are certain brands of clothes that I just stay away from because I just would never wear that, right? I mean, I tell my wife, there's one thing that I want, I wish I could have, but never would wear it. And that's like, one of those Movado stainless steel watches. It's chrome, it's got a black face, it just looks so cool. But I told her, don't ever buy that for me. It's something I do want, but I would never ever wear it, right? It's just not.
You're just hoping you
it's not
find
my
it
style.
on like a dead body somewhere. It's like, you claim it first.
Yoink.
Even if I did, I still wouldn't wear it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, we were, like I said, walking around New York with my mom, and she's got her jewelry, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Well, like, I don't understand why you're wearing, jewelry in New York, and you're just asking to be robbed, is what I told her. And I was so unease with her walking, where people were, bumping into us or whatnot, and I was more afraid of someone, pickpocketing us or something like that. And those are things that make me uncomfortable. I'd rather walk on the street like holy shirt, shorts, flip flops, looking poor, so that way no one bothers me.
You're the guy that has the money, though. I guarantee you always have cash, you and Chris. So I'm going to go for you guys. You always get that tip money.
No, I seriously, if I have $20 in my pocket, it is a lot of cash. So unless if I know I'm going somewhere, then I had cash in my pocket.
So
Yeah, since the pandemic, I don't carry much cash with me. Everything's just contactless payments now. I just have my phone and Apple Pay everything now. Like, I rarely carry that much cash with me anymore.
So I literally left the hotel room earlier to go walk to Target to buy beer so I could, have a beer with you guys on the podcast. Long story short, I didn't buy anything except for like some fruit stripes and some Crystal Light and then like 2 pounds of ham. But don't worry what I'm going to do with that. But
2 pounds of ham. How are we not going to worry about? What are you going to do
There's
with
a story here. 2 pounds of ham.
well, here's the first empty container. I was just hungry. I was just like, I needed some protein. So I just went for it. It was good. But anyways, that long story short, I have a shirt that just says "Embrace Violence." But as I was walking back to my hotel room, there's a guy on a bicycle. He stopped and he looked at me and he saluted me. He goes, "I'm scared of violence." So I don't know what this has to do with our conversation, but I'm going to share it with you anyways, guys. I can't tell you what I wouldn't buy. I'm literally have nothing that if I don't like it, I'm just not going to buy it. So, and if I want it, I just go out and buy it. I have like a weird.
No, but that I think that's not the question though. It's not that you wouldn't buy it. What's something that you would want but never buy, right? Is that what you're trying to get to, Chris?
No, it's not even something that you would want. Like I don't want designer
Yeah.
clothes for my baby, and
Yeah.
on the sort of the same vein as what you were saying about designer stuff. Like I would never buy like a Sony laptop. Like a Sony laptop is just as good as a Dell laptop or Lenovo laptop with just like 20%, 50% markup.
I got it, guys. I would never buy a slave. You know what? I can't believe you guys didn't say that. I'm a good human being. All the money in the world. I'm not buying a slave. I'll hire someone to do my expenses. You guys are jerks. How do you guys not think about buying a slave? I swear.
I think I will now. Thanks. So I'm going to take that as my next action
Just
item.
think, if you had an interview
'Cause I do
question,
need
that's
someone
why
to
you
do
failed.
Yeah. Intern. They're called interns, Brian.
All right. Well, on that note, we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week.
Dad joke of the week.
This week, Brian is up.
So yesterday, I couldn't figure out if somebody was like waving at me or someone behind me. In other news, I lost my lifeguarding job. He got it. He got it finally.
Wow.
That took a long time.
Okay.
That took a long time for you guys to get hooked in on that one.
I got it pretty quick. All right, to wrap things up, phones as a hotel key is a good idea, but might still need some improvement. TikTok is logging all your keystrokes, but parent company ByteDance says not to worry. People still keep finding ways to leak data from air-gapped networks. Bitcoin ATMs aren't as secure as we hoped, and don't buy expensive baby clothes as they will grow out of them quickly. That's all I have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. You can find us all on LinkedIn, links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all our listeners and subscribers who rate us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. For my co-hosts Brian Deach and Glenn Medina, I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next weekend. As always, have a nice day.
Bigfoot is real.
Have a nice day.